like to welcome you this evening to the third annual Denti Invitational Public Speaking Contest. At this time, I'd like to introduce our judges. We have first, at my right or left, Chip Haley from Rome Sentinel, Richard DeRose, retired Commissioner of Social Services of Knight County, Andy Fleming, the manager of the Rome News Channel, and Jay Schultz from the radio station WUUU. Just a little bit about the contest. Our contest features boys and girls who write their own speeches, and they will deliver their speeches within 3 to 5 minutes. We'd like you please to hold the applause till all the speakers have finished speaking. Try to remember not to applaud for every speaker. Our contestants are in order by random selection of a drawing. Yesterday, around 12 o'clock, Bruce Bremmett, officer of the Rome Police Department, drew the numbers by lot, so they are speaking in the order they were drawing. Please do not use any flash cameras or any other recording device by the children here so we don't make them nervous. Once the boys and girls have begun their speech, nobody will be allowed to enter the auditorium unless it's between speakers, so we'll be monitoring that. The man who did so much work with this contest is a teacher here at Denti School who does regular work with our program and has really put all of the effort into this program tonight, Richard Lundino.
Thank you, Mr. Delcatrata. A little brief history of this. Communications, we feel, is a very important part of anybody's language arts program today. And one of the things we try to take a look at is to expand the use of communications through language arts. So together, we, over the last 2 years, this being the third year, have expanded our citywide invitational speech tournament into a county or central New York area. So this year we have the Denti School, represent the Rome City School District. We have Milford Central School, outside of Cooperstown. We have North Syracuse Central School District, Oneida Central School District, Howard Patton Central School District, and Vernon Verona Sherrill Central School District. One of the things tonight, you're looking at 17 boys and girls who have been selected, nominated, went through competition through their own schools. So behind me are probably some of the finest boys and girls, if not all, that can put together a speech contest tonight. There are no losers. As I said before, there are 17 winners behind me. Prizes being furnished tonight will be by the Denti Parent Teachers Organization. I'd like to thank Mrs. Cindy Herman, President of the PTO, for being so kind enough and gracious enough to fund this worthwhile event. She does an outstanding job, and I really appreciate all the time and effort she gives to our boys and girls at Denti School. Let the contest begin. As Mr. Delcatrata said, the students were pulled by Bruce Bremmett. He pulled the straws, and the order in which they're going to speak is the order in which he picked them yesterday. Our first contestant tonight is Tricia Fischetti. Her topic is My Special Night. Tricia Fischetti.
Good evening. The day began like any other typical Friday at school. Everybody's saying who they like and who they don't like, laughter, family, and teachers yelling. But somehow my mind just wasn't tuned into the 6th grade. I knew we were going to go to a rock concert that night, but what I didn't know is that it was going to probably be one of the most exciting nights of my life so far. It all started when I got called down over the loudspeaker that my mom was here at school early to pick me up to go. I got in my car and finally we were on our way. The group that we were to see were Poison and Warren. We were to stay 1 block away from where they were playing so we could walk to the arena instead of drive. Now the excitement began. In front of the hotel were 2 beautiful luxury buses with pretty scenes on them. My dad said they might be the Rock Roots tour buses. From then on, my heart was pounding as hard as the drummer hits the drums. We entered the hotel, and the first thing I saw was the guitars for Warrant passing us by. My sister and I got so excited we practically hyperventilated. We went to our room to put our suitcases away. On the way back down to the lobby, when the elevator door opened, I couldn't believe my eyes. There, standing with chicken wings and a Pepsi in his hand, was Joey Allen, the lead guitarist for Warrant. As I stood there, my mouth dropped, my stomach flopped, and my eyes got 3 times wider. mother snapped a picture. My sister and I wanted to hang around the lobby, but of course we had to eat dinner. We went to McDonald's and shoved the food down our throats so we could get back to where the action was, and just in time. As we approached the hotel, we heard screaming. There, in the middle of it all, was C.C. DeVille, the lead guitarist of Poison. Luckily, my dad caught his attention, and he was glad to sign his autograph. This was too good to be true. We were told that the other members of both groups were to come out and get into their buses also. And they did. One by one, we got their autographs and pictures with almost all the group of Warren. But still, the best was yet to come. It seemed like forever, but finally a huge bodyguard came out, and following him was the lead singer of Poison, Bret Michaels. It was a dream come true. If you ever saw Bret, you would know what I mean. We pushed through the crowd, and he signed my sister's t-shirt and autograph for me, and best of all, we sat on the steps of his bus next to him, and my mom snapped a picture. I couldn't believe it when my dad told Bret I was a room coach cheerleader, and he said cool and gave me the thumbs up. You couldn't wipe the smile off my face until I had to get back to reality. Reality set in Monday morning, November 19th, 1990 at 9 o'clock. Do you know how hard it is to get back to launching rockets and science, ancient Egyptians and social studies, studying my spelling words and language arts and equivalent fractions and math? My mind sure wasn't on who likes who, lockers, slamming, and teachers yelling that Monday, but soon everybody has to get back to reality. And I did, almost. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight, her name is Dixie Wishart. Her topic is being the oldest child. Dixie Wishart.
Good evening. Being the oldest child can be fun, but also boring, and usually makes me mad. Like having to babysit when I had plans to go to a friend's house. I would have to stay home and babysit. Believe me, it's not fun. One of the good things is I never get blamed for anything, and usually the oldest gets blamed for everything. But not me. I got so special. I can remember one time when I had my friend Amanda spend the night, while my brother also had his son spend the night. Amanda and I were making a lot of noise while my brother and his friend were cleaning my brother's room. When my mother yelled, "George, keep it down," I just started laughing. It makes me think I can get away with anything, but that's not true either. One night when my uncle and aunt came to visit, they all wanted to go to bingo, except my uncle. So he stayed to babysit his own kids and us. I really wanted to go to my friend's house, but then I stopped to remember what my mother had said. She said, "Don't go anywhere." But I knew if I went, I would get in trouble. I went anyway. I got back before they did, so I thought I wasn't in trouble. But right as soon as my parents got home, my big mouth brother told, and I got grounded for 2 days. I promised myself never to do that again, especially with my brother around. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Nissa Sturban. Her topic is, have you ever heard the name Nissa? Nissa Sturban.
Good evening. Have you ever heard of the name Nissa? Most people haven't, but there are a few exceptions. These few exceptions must have very large vocabularies. Having the name Nissa can be funny at times. For example, one reason is that people have so many different pronunciations. Usually, when I have a substitute teacher, they will pronounce it Nisa or Nisa. Some other pronunciations are Nessa, Nisha, and Nessa. Usually when people call me Nisha, I wonder where they got that from. This is because the name Nissa doesn't even have a T in it. Sometimes, when people want to make fun of me, they call me Nessa. When they call me this, it makes me feel like an astronaut. At times, having the name Nissa can get frustrating. This is because when people ask me what my name is, and I say Nissa, they always think I mean Melissa or Nissa. This usually happens with older people. One day when I went to church school, the teacher thought that my name was Melissa. It took her 2 days to figure out that my name was not Melissa. People are always asking me where I got my name from. I really don't know where my parents got it from, so I usually say that they got it from the baby book of names. Actually, I think that my parents made it up. I guess I should be happy that I have the name Nissa. They say I have the name Gertrude. Thank you.
speaker this evening is Andrea Militello. Her topic is censorship. Andrea Militello.
Good evening. I believe that censorship is totally horrible. It bans knowledge from our generation and others. Here, from the Mid-New York Library System, are some books that have been banned. See if you agree they should have been banned or not. The Bible, Are You There, God? To Me, Margaret, by Judy Blume, Mother Goose, and Huckleberry Finn. In my opinion, I do not think these books should have been banned. Most books that are banned view human life critically or sarcastically, involve sex or violence, or maybe go against someone's religion. But really, shouldn't it be up to you, or if you're a child, his or her parents, if you read a book or not a group of people or society in general? I agree with the statement found in October of 1989 Publishers Weekly, which states, quote, "Banning books can't eliminate evil. It can only kill freedom." Isn't that so true? Some people even go as far as not printing a book because of these things, which goes against the Bill of Rights, which states we shall have freedom of the press. Also found in Publishers Weekly, David Weisler, when asked how he felt because his book was banned, said, quote, "I think it's great. I strongly disagree with that point. It should be up to you, or if you're a child, his or her parents, if you read a book or not a group of people or society in general. I strongly disagree with censorship." Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Tim Shermack. His topic is Steps to World Peace. Tim Shermack.
Good evening. Many people dream about peace. That group includes me. I have always dreamed about living in a world of peace. I can just imagine what it would be like. Everyone would be kind to each other. I sat down and wrote a poem about peace and would like to recite it to you now. It is about what the world would be like if all people were at peace. If the world were at peace, what a grand sight it would be, with 7 caring continents, living in harmony, peacefully. If everyone could be happy, if everyone could be glad, there would really be no reason for anyone to be mad or sad. There would be no more fighting, there would be no more war. If only all people could live in peace forevermore. I feel there are 7 steps to obtain peace. First, you must be at peace yourself. You must do your best and be proud of your efforts, no matter how small they may be. Many people say, "Oh, I wish the world could be at peace." But then they are mean to others. The second step is peace in a household. You must be kind to your family. This step is very important. Instead of fighting about disagreements, talk them over and try to come to a fair compromise. The third step, peace in a community, is one of the hardest steps. It involves being kind to people you work with, go to schools and churches with, and even the people you meet in stores and malls. This does not mean that everyone has to agree, but that they should express their feelings in a calm and friendly way. The fourth step is peace within an entire state. All communities, businesses, politicians, and government leaders have to learn to respect each other's needs. The fifth step is peace within an entire country. Both state and government leaders have to learn to live with each other like brothers and sisters. The government has to try as hard as it can to bring peaceful resolutions to problems. The sixth step, continental peace, is very
common. Countries that live on the same continent live close to one another. They should be able to live in harmony. An example of this is the relationship that exists between the United States and Canada. They allow trade and travel to cross their borders without trouble. The seventh step is global peace. Cooperation between countries is difficult because of language and cultural differences. It is essential for these countries to get along. They must learn to make do with what they have and to stop greed of wanting more and more. Iraq's invasion of Kuwait is a perfect example of this greed. This is the biggest obstacle in accomplishing world peace. When all these steps are fulfilled, world peace will be inevitable. It is not as easy as it seems, though. Not all people care if there is peace. And because of these such people, world peace is almost impossible. Notice I said almost. There is still hope for generations to come. If only we can begin to walk the road to peace, it will be easier for them to follow it. The future depends on us, the children of the future. We need to set good examples for them to follow. All civilization depends on us to bring a peaceful resolution to fighting, an idea for solving problems, and even a friendly ear to listen to others' needs. If we could set an example to do just one of these things, the world would be a lot better off. Just remember, it is you, and only you, that can either make the decision to be peaceful or ruin all hopes for the future. It's up to you. I only hope that you make the right choice. It could make all the difference. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Janice Spence. Her topic is, will Puerto Rico become the 51st state? Janice Spence.
Good evening. Will Puerto Rico become the 51st state? If so, what will happen? Sometime in the early 1990s, the people of Puerto Rico will cast their votes to determine whether they should remain a commonwealth, seek independence, or become the 51st state. Whatever their decision, great changes lie ahead for this former Spanish colony. This island, of only 3,500 square miles, is home for over 3.3 million people. Puerto Rico has had little opportunity to govern itself. First as a colony of Spain, and then a territory of the United States, Puerto Rico finally had its own civilian government appointed by the U.S. President in 1900. If Puerto Rico were a state, it would rank first among all states in population density with about 910 people per square mile. It would also rank first in unemployment, 14% in 1989, first in percentage of population receiving food stamps, 43.5% in 1990, and first in population employed by the government. Only Washington, D.C. is higher. It would rank 9th in violent crime and 43rd in gross state product, $18.4 billion in 1990. It would be 49th in land area, larger than only Delaware and Rhode Island. It would rank last in per capita income at an average of only $5,700 per year, or less than half of the 50th rank, Mississippi. As citizens of America's 51st state, Puerto Ricans would have many more advantages. They could vote for the U.S. president instead of only having presidential primaries. They could also elect state officials and be represented by 2 senators and as many as 7 representatives in the houses of Congress. They could also get better welfare benefits. A person who now receives $90 in food stamps would receive $130 after statehood. Puerto Rico, no matter what choice it makes, will have a change. Whether they choose modified commonwealth, statehood, or independence, They will undergo cultural, economic, and political changes. Puerto Ricans' feelings about these changes are perhaps expressed by the words of Puerto Rican writer Luis Rafael Sanchez, who, according to World Book Encyclopedia, said that the current situation makes Puerto Ricans feel that their island is only a locality off the patio of the United States. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Anna Kristen Gainey. Her topic is Reptiles Are Wonderful Animals. Anna Kristen Gainey.
Good evening. I would like to tell you some interesting facts about reptiles. Reptiles are the oldest animals in the world. They have been on the earth for over 300 million years. Some reptiles have changed very little since the age of the dinosaurs. Reptiles all have backbones, lungs, and a scale. There are 4 kinds of reptiles, which are crocodiles and alligators, which are in one group, turtles, snakes, and lizards. The first reptile I'd like to tell you about is a dinosaur, which is now extinct, called iguanodon. Iguanodon lived 130 million years ago in the Cretaceous period. Iguanodon ate ferns, cycads, leaves, and foliage. The skeleton was 25 feet long, and 15 feet high. It also had crushing teeth, some spikes, grasping hands, long legs, a heavy tail, and a bird-like head. The second reptile I would like to tell you about is a chameleon. It is from the lizard group. They are very different from other lizards. There are 80 different kinds. Dinosaurs are different relatives of the chameleons. Chameleons are one of the oldest reptiles. The name chameleon is Greek. Chameleon comes from chameleon means on the ground. Leon means lion. We don't know why the Greeks used the word chameleon because only one species lives on the ground, which is the rarely seen leaf chameleon. Each eye of the chameleon moves independently, so it can watch front and back at the same time. The chameleon's awesome tongue can be extended twice the body length and always hit the target. The top of the tongue is club-shaped and covered with sticky mucus. If the chameleon was placed on a flat background, it would be driven crazy because it would not be able to decide which color to change to. My last reptile I'd like to tell you about is called the tokay gecko, which is also a lizard. Geckos are wonderful climbers. They can easily scurry up a tree, a wall, even a glass window. They can even climb upside down on a branch or ceiling. Tokay geckos are found on parts of Asia. Each of the gecko's toes has many ridges. Each ridge has millions of bristles with suction cups less than 8 millionths of an inch wide. The toes also have curved claws. The gecko looks fierce and huge, but is shy and hides from people. An adult male tokay gecko averages only about 12 inches long. When attacked by an enemy, the tokay gecko barks like a dog. It can also bite. The tail instantly falls off if a hungry animal grabs it. Soon it will grow a new tail. With a lick of the tongue, the tokay gecko cleans its eye. The tokay gecko's tongue acts like a built-in windshield wiper. Instead of having eyelids, the gecko has a hard clear covering that protects the eye. Tiny sharp teeth line the tokay gecko's mouth. The jaws are strong. The muscles help hold and seize the gecko's prey. The tokay gecko hunts insects, lizards, birds, and even cockroaches. If you look close up at the tokay gecko's skin, you will see a small scale and round bumps called tubercles. The skin's texture and color enable the tokay gecko to blend in with leaves and tree bark. This helps the gecko hide from its prey and its enemies, such as cats. Reptiles are fantastic and remarkable creatures. They will probably live the longest time period. If they lived 300 million years ago, they probably could live 300 million years more. Lots of things about them are very interesting. They are very well adapted to their surroundings. Remember, they may be the oldest, but that doesn't mean they aren't the best. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Brooke Schaefer. Her topic is A Different Kind of School. Brooke Schaefer.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Schaefer, and I go to the Denti Middle School. I used to live in Anchorage, Alaska, where I attended a very different school called Chugach Optional. Chugach Optional was a small public school consisting of 2 halls, a gym, a library, a cafeteria, a music room, and classrooms. Classes were mixed with grades, such as 1st and 2nd grades combined, 3rd and 4th grades combined, and 5th and 6th grades combined. Classrooms were not separated by wall, and we sat at tables with partners we had chosen. We chose who we were going to sit by, depending on who we could work best with, and who wouldn't disturb us. To make each classroom feel more like a home, couches and chairs were scattered throughout the room, and a loft was built in the corner. There was also an area called Family Group. Family Group was a large open area where pillows and chairs were scattered about for students to sit in while they discussed the work with their teachers. Instead of our subjects being divided into short classes, they were woven into one big project, such as the time we studied Middle Ages. All the classes were interwoven into the study of Middle Ages. In math, we worked out math problems with blocks so we could see how each problem was done. Every spring for 3 weeks, the whole school divided into 7 groups which studied insects, mammals, fish, birds, glaciers, shells, and forests and wetlands. This was called Sea Week. Shells, one of the groups, went on a 3-day camping trip where they studied animals in tide pools found on beaches. Mammals went on a boat trip and tried to spot animals found out in the ocean, while forests and wetlands hiked out into forests study the trees and the animals that lived in them. Writing was a subject that was stressed in Chugach Optional, and these students became quite good at all the different types of writing. There were some students who made their own poem books, while others entered poems and stories into contests for money or to be published. Each student was assigned special time to work with their teacher privately. They could take extra classes for subjects they were good in, or classes for fun, such as typing, track, and writing. In order to attend Chugach Optional, parents need to fill out an application form about the child or children. Parents are required to provide transportation to and from school and on field trips. Parents were also obligated to volunteer 36 hours per year per child. The school was limited to approximately 200 students. When I attended there was a 2-year waiting list. All the students were placed in a lottery to establish their place on the waiting list. As students graduated or moved away, those at the top of the waiting list would move in to fill the empty spots. If students could not handle the freedom and responsibility, they were told that it would be best for them to go to a traditional school. Students had to be responsible and independent to go to Chugach Optional. They had to make many decisions on their own and were given many tasks and homework each day. Each student gained freedom and a sense of responsibility. Chugach Optional was a school where students and teachers were treated as equals, and the education was exciting and fun. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Keith Reeves. His topic is animal rights. Keith Reeves.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, you've heard it a billion times, and I'm saying it again. But this time I'll explain it. If only people were more aware of some of the kinds of things laboratories do to animals and did something about it. People don't realize it, but some of the most popular corporations test their products on animals. Let me give you some information from the February 1990 People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals newsletter. The Gillette Shaving Company tests a lot of their products on animals. So does, believe it or not, Johnson & Johnson, the baby care company. Also, according to PETA, Maybelline tests rouge, lipstick, and other cosmetics on animals. Colgate-Palmolive tests toothpaste on animals. If people don't stop killing, they're going to kill all the animals. As I said earlier, if only people were more aware of some of the kinds of things people do to harmless animals and did something about it. If we didn't test on animals, we'd have more birds to fill the briny-smelling sea air, more cute seals to waddle the freezing beaches, more rabbits for us to admire in the autumn leaves, more wolves to howl in the moonlight, calling their mates, we'd have more animals to love and care for. If there's anyone here who feels that they are even slightly inclined to help the animals, please switch to products that are manufactured by corporations that do not test their products on animals. Find it in your hearts to save animals' lives. Some people treat animals very poorly. Think about this. You have a cat and she gives birth to a litter of kittens. They're all cute, strong, roly-poly little animals. Unfortunately, you can't afford to keep them, so you give them away. Now you hear this one died, or this one ran away, or this one gave birth, so we got rid of them all. Eventually, most of them are abandoned. Sometimes you find a good owner, and they grow up, but not usually. Not only is this unethical, it's a disgusting way to treat someone or something. We need to control the pet population. If you want a kitten, buy one or get one. Don't have a cat bear kittens. Now let's talk about a big issue, fur. Fur coats may be warm, but now an animal is dead. Why do we kill harmless animals just to be fashionable? I don't have any objections to fake fur, or faux as the French say. It's real fur I cannot stand. If you kill an animal and use it all, the meat, the fur, the teeth, the bones, like the Eskimos, I have no problem with that. It's when people kill an animal for no other reason than to satisfy their desire for luxuries. That's a lousy excuse for killing a cute baby seal pup, or a roaring lion of the jungle, or a majestic mountainous lynx. By now, you've probably figured out that I'm fighting for animal rights. Animals are just like humans. They have the same birthright we do, to inherit the earth from past generations. Let's make this world great for the future generations. After all, if we are the dominant species on this planet, we need to set an example. So far, our example has been to turn Los Angeles, California into a big bustling smog ball, put a hole in the ozone layer, and destroy animal habitats and populations. We aren't doing very well. In the future, animals may be able to tell us their story. Let's make it a good one instead of a horror story. Pull together, America. Save the animals. We can do it, and we will do it. It will take time as anything, but I say let's do it. Save the animals, and your reward will be immeasurable. After all, not just the dogs, but all animals are man's best friend. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Megan Smith. Her topic is the importance of encouragement. Megan Smith.
Good evening. In the 1400s, a man named Leonardo da Vinci lived in Italy. He was a man with ideas, thoughts, that spilled out of his mind and onto his tablet. In his early years, Da Vinci was recognized as a mathematician, as well as for painting and drawing. In Florence, he studied engineering, sculpting, and painting. He had an amazing understanding of human anatomy. He had visions of aerodynamics that weren't believed or even tested until centuries after his death. If only he had been encouraged instead of laughed at, he may have been first in flight, or best ever medical doctor, or even invented X-rays. But he wasn't encouraged. The original theories of flight and the human body were rejected. This was a major step back on the technological timeline. Around the turn of the century, another man stood out of ordinary inventors. His name was Thomas Edison. In Edison's 3 months of schooling, his teacher spoke of him as spoiled and confused. When he was 15, he was trying to board a train with his arms full of newspapers, and the conductor tried to help him up onto the platform by pulling him by his ears. This triggered his lifelong deafness. He felt about this, as well as many other things. No use crying over. In his early years and old days, Edison was discouraged by many people, but that never stopped him from trying. Now let's look at two brothers from Dayton, Ohio. They too, around the turn of the century, made a discovery that would change the world forever. Orville Wright and Wilbur Wright did years of study. Many people said that flying with the motor was impossible, but they kept trying. They sent about 5 letters to the few towns with the appropriate flight conditions. Only one response returned to the anxious brothers. It was from a little town on the outer banks of North Carolina called Kitty Hawk. Since that was their only reply, they set off for Kitty Hawk. After a few years of testing, they were ready to return to Dayton, Ohio with the discovery. A new invention called a propeller was on their minds. It was a long piece of wood that would fit onto the front of the plane. Then it would push back the air and forward the airplane so it could take off. In 1903, their airplane made them first in flight. They, too, were not encouraged. As Stephen Benet said in the poem, Orville Wright and Wilbur Wright, these birds are very trying. But that's not the only thing that tried the brothers' patience. Devastation came in many ways. Experiments and words were probably the most frequent. You see how much they accomplished by not being encouraged. So imagine how much they could have accomplished if only they were encouraged. So much aerodynamic information could have been acquired, it would be amazing. You may ask what all these men have in common. They are all men who were not encouraged. Possibly, if Leonardo da Vinci was given more recognition, our civilization may have flown in the 1400s. Or Thomas Edison. We may have had space vehicles much sooner. And the Wright brothers. If they had been given more credit, they may have reached to further ambitions of flight experiments. If only we would have tried to encourage these people and many others, this world could be more prosperous for everyone. For simple, good job, or nice thinking could make one person try a little harder. That could make all the difference. If only you will try to encourage everyone to be the very best they can be, they could be the very next person to change the future. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Adam Price. His topic is a comparison between the Vietnamese and Persian Gulf Wars. Adam Price.
Good evening. The United States learned a lesson from the Vietnam War. In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson sent drafted and volunteer armies to a country called Vietnam. They were sent to keep South Vietnam from being raided by the North Vietnamese. We were to fight for democracy in South Vietnam. It was a very unpopular war because in 18 years of war, lots of people died. And people aren't supportive when men and women are dying. When the soldiers got home, people looked down on them because they were blamed for killing innocent civilians. When the soldiers were at war, they could only attack to certain points. If the Vietnamese went beyond that boundary, they were unable to attack, and that meant the U.S. had to retreat. These small, short battles gave the enemy time to recuperate. In 1990, President George Bush sent volunteer armies to Iraq to get Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. Lots of support was shown by T-shirts and other items, which made it a popular war. Not many American soldiers were killed, which made it easier to support the war. In the Persian Gulf War, civilians were killed, but some possibly by the Iraqi government. The first day of war, lots of U.S. pilots saw missile launchers come on forward plants, communication centers, and utilities to have an advantage over the Iraqi government. Then, when the ground war started, it could attack in great amounts, which demolished the Iraqi military. The plan of attack for the Vietnam War was made in the United States, automatic, but the plan of attack for the Persian Gulf War was made on the battle site by North Short's great general. Over 50,000 men and women died in the Vietnam War, and just over 100 Allied forces died in the Persian Gulf. That's a big difference between two wars. Nothing was accomplished in the Vietnam War. So many lives were ruined. No heroes were welcomed home. Now, President Bush is working towards peace agreements in the Mideast, and our soldiers can come home heroes at last. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Elias Wagner. Her topic is The Constitution Promotes the Brotherhood of Man. Elias Wagner.
Good evening. The Constitution has some good points and some bad points. It was written to unify people and promote the brotherhood of men, but it excluded a lot of other people. The Constitution unified upper-class men at first. It did not unify all people. Women, slaves, non-educated people, poor people, and Native Americans were excluded from the Constitution at first. As amendments were added, more people were unified. Even today, all people are not unified. Women are still excluded from the Constitution. They have some rights, but it is not stated in the Constitution that they are equal to men. Although it didn't start out exactly that way, the Constitution does promote the brotherhood of men in certain ways. One way it unifies us is by making the United States a federal government. This unifies everyone and does not give one state more power than another. The Constitution was written so that people in different classes didn't follow different laws. People referred to in the Constitution were expected to follow the same laws. People not referred to in the Constitution were expected to follow these laws too, but they didn't have any rights. The Constitution promoted the brotherhood of certain men, but it did not help the people not referred to in the Constitution. Today, we are trying to change this, but there are still things that need to be changed. Fortunately, the people that wrote the Constitution made it flexible enough for us to change it if we feel it is necessary. Some of the things that I feel that need to be changed are Native American rights and equal opportunity for black people and women. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Brian Mead. His topic is My Dad's Cancer. Brian Mead.
Has anybody in your family had cancer? In 1982, my family found out that my dad had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of lymph node cancer. This cancer affects the lymph nodes in your body, which are normally the size of a pig. The lymph nodes of my dad became the size of footballs. The first large lymph node was in his stomach. My dad had surgery and chemotherapy in Oneonta, New York. The chemotherapy attacks fast-growing cells, which includes the cancer cells. He lost his hair because of the chemotherapy. The cancer was gone for 3.5 years. July of 1987, the cancer returned to his stomach. Next, Dad went to Roswell, a cancer research center in Buffalo. He usually just drove there, but was hospitalized sometimes. Doctors tried 2 different kinds of chemotherapy. The second was experimental. Next, Dad went to Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. There he was hospitalized for 42 days. He had a bone marrow transplant, which means the doctors took out his bone marrow. They took it out because they were concerned that the extremely high doses of chemotherapy, even stronger than the first dose, might kill bone marrow. The high dose of the chemotherapy made Dad give up everything. He not even know my mom, and he thought that he was home when home was 800 miles away. Sometimes, just thinking about that makes me cry. When the chemotherapy was finished, doctors started Dr. Strange started the bone marrow. The bone marrow started producing more blood cells that had died from the chemotherapy. Now, 2 years later, the doctor was presented Dad's success story at a National Cancer Convention, cured. Family always thinks that Dad had the physical pain, but we had the mental pain. Have you ever thought of cancer in that way? Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Becky Weir. Her topic is A Falling Apart, Friendship. Becky Weir.
Good evening. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will break my heart. This is some advice I received from a friend. I've experienced a falling apart friendship the first time in my life this year. It was really hard to deal with at first, but I managed to get through it. I chose my daily journal at school to help me. By writing my feelings down, it helped take some of the pain out that I had stored up inside. This may not work for you though. There are a number of things that you can do to help you, but the question is, which one is best for you? Something may work for you, and then it could be a disaster for someone else. The following are different ways to approach your friend problem by writing things down. You can do what I did and write your feelings down in a personal journal that your teacher can read and respond back to him. Or you may want to write a story, and the main character could be the person playing your part, and you would be the one to make things turn out how you want them. Here are some more ways to approach your friend problem, but by talking. You can talk to your mom and dad. You can talk to your guidance counselor. You can talk it over with friends, or you may want to talk to your teacher. Whichever way you choose, it should make you feel better if anything, not worse. If you feel uncomfortable, maybe your selection is not meant for you. If you choose talking to your teacher, you aren't being a tattletale. You will be helping you and your friend. Who knows? Maybe you and your friend will turn out to be better friends than you started out to be. I hope these words will someday help you, or you may be able to help someone yourself. Here are some words of wisdom that you may want to remember. Those friends worth having are those who care about you, and those who like you for what you are inside, not your outside appearances. And most important of all, those friends worth having are those you can trust. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight, Justin Beckwith. His topic is Pele the Magnificent. Justin Beckwith.
Good evening. Tonight, my speech is on the world's most famous soccer player, Edson Arantes de Nascimento, better known as Pele. Pele was born on October 3rd, 1940, in Três Coraqués, Brazil. At age 15, Pele led the Santos, a Brazilian state team, to many state titles. He also led the 1958, 1962, 1970 Brazilian World Cup teams to victory. Began in 1969, Pele scored his 1,000th career goal. After this feat, he kissed the ball. At the end of his career, he had scored 1,281 goals. In 1975, Pele signed a multi-million-dollar contract with the New York Cosmos. Pele is the man who brought soccer to America. He'd always find the time for crowds, signing autographs and giving advice about the game. His favorite people to talk to are children. He says they are the game's hope. He once said, quote, "I came to America to help make soccer popular. And no one is happier to see more children playing soccer." End quote. Pele started his career in a small village called Três Coraqués, located in Brazil. He earned the name Pele for his soccer skills. Pele, P-E kind, and generous man. Growing up poor in a beat-up house, his one goal was to be good at soccer. Once he made this dream come true. He supported many homeless people. He would give thousands of dollars to charity. He spends many hours visiting sick children in hospitals. The world is fortunate indeed to have one man, Taylor, not only for his awesome soccer skills, but such a great humanitarian. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Stacy Bruno. Her topic is Save Our Animals. Stacy Bruno.
Good evening. Did you know that our planet is now losing up to 3 species of animals per day? And in the next 10 years, the rate could be as high as 3 species per hour? Well, because of man's carelessness, many animals could be extinct by the year 2000. Some animals that are affected by this are rabbits and guinea pigs. Products such as nail polish remover and dandruff shampoo are dropped into their eyes to see reactions. And some companies have gone as far as force-feeding toilet bowl cleaners to them to see reactions. Fish, birds, and mammals are being killed by plastic trash, by starvation, strangling, and drowning. On June 1988, a 1-year-old sperm whale was found dead ashore with a mylar balloon in its stomach. In September 1987, a leatherback turtle was found with a latex balloon and 3 foot of ribbon blocking its pyloric valve. Plastic six-pack rings kill many birds and ducks when they get caught around their necks and strangle them. Over 250,000 dolphins are being killed yearly in tuna nets. The dolphins swim with the yellowfin tuna, and when the fishermen are trying to catch these yellowfin tuna, they get caught along with them and are brought along the deck and die. Did you know that elephants are being slaughtered for their ivory, and if this keeps up, they will be extinct by the year 2000? Coyotes, foxes, raccoons, and rabbits are being killed for their fur, and 1 out of 4 will chew off his or her own leg if trapped and die later of blood loss or infection. Reptiles, such as alligators and snakes, are usually conscious when skinned for shoes, handbags, and belts, and they suffer for days before they die. Animals during movie making and commercials are sometimes beaten, starved, or killed. It is a proven fact that a cat may be spun in a washing machine that it gets so dizzy it passes out to make it look like it's sleeping on cue. Bulls during bullfights have Vaseline put in their eyes, their horns are filed blunt, irritants are rubbed on their legs to throw them off balance, and cotton is put in their nostrils so breathing is difficult. And they go through all this just to be brought to the slaughterhouse afterwards. Are there solutions for these problems? Well, there are many. You should not buy products from companies that use animals for testing. You should cut up 6-pack plastic rings, remove lids from cans and rinse cans, and put lids back on jars so animals cannot get inside. Buy tuna from companies that do not kill dolphins. Do not buy products containing ivory, real fur, or skin. And boycott movies in your area where animals are being abused. Every little bit helps to save our animals. We can really make a difference if we try. They can't speak for themselves, so we have to speak for them. Thank you.
Our last speaker tonight, but certainly not our least, is Suzanne Stevens. Her topic, the history of baseball. Suzanne Stevens.
Every year, Americans lose to 2 very famous sports. Play ball. Baseball is a multi-million-dollar business. It employs thousands of Americans each year, from the players to the parking lot attendants. But it wasn't always that way. In 1869, a professional baseball player earned from $600 to $1,400 a season. If someone earned money like that now, they'd be lucky to even own a baseball.
Baseball players now make about $100,000 and up. Roger Clemens seeks the cake, making $5 million, being the highest paid baseball player ever. Attendance has also gone up over the years. In the 1905 World Series, about 91,000 fans came to all 4 games. In 1978, just over 300,000 fans came, more than tripling the attendance of the World Series. Baseball has been around since before the Civil War. In 1839, Abner Doubleday was noted for creating the game of baseball. It was 30 years later, in 1869, that the first professional team was founded. They were the Cincinnati Red Sox. That was the same year the Golden Spike was nailed in Utah. The first night game was played in 1935 in Cincinnati. After World War II, 3 major events happened that changed baseball forever. Airplanes were made to carry more than 21 people. Before that, it was impossible to put a team of 25 players on one plane. Making planes to carry more people started a westward move. The Brooklyn Dodgers moved to Los Angeles and the Giants to San Francisco. In 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first black baseball player. As more blacks participated in the sport, the amount of fans grew. In the 1950s, the television became popular, so many Americans started watching baseball on TV instead of listening to it on the radio. This speech goes back about 150 years. Now, I'd like to go ahead that same amount. By then, I imagine we'll have co-ed teams. I also think we might be playing on the moon or even other planets. So much has happened in the last 150 years, it's hard to think what more can really happen in the future. Thank you.
Speakers tonight. What I'd like to do to be fair to the judges and the audience, please hold your applause until everyone has been introduced again. I will read the name of the contestant and their topic so the judges can take a final last look. Will each contestant please stand and remain standing until everybody has had their name called here. Tricia Vicetti, My Special Night. Please hold your applause until everybody is standing, please. Dixie Wishart, Being the Oldest Child. Nissa Sturban, have you ever heard of the name Nissa? Andrea Militello, Censorship. Tim Shermack, Steps to World Peace. Janice Spence, will Puerto Rico become the 51st state? Anna Kristen Gainey, Reptiles Are Wonderful Animals. Brooke Schaefer, A Different Kind of School. Keith Reeves, Animal Rights. Megan Smith, The Importance of Encouragement. Adam Price, A Comparison Between the Vietnamese and Persian Gulf Wars. Elias Wagner, The Constitution Promotes the Brotherhood of Man. Brian Mead, My Dad's Cancer. Becky Weir, A Falling Apart, Friendship. Justin Beckwith, Pele, the Magnificent. Stacy Bruno, Save Our Animals. Suzanne Stevens, The History of Baseball. How about a nice round of applause? As stated before, putting on a production like this is very time-consuming, but as you can see the results, it's very worthwhile. After about a short 15-minute intermission, we'd like to invite you to cake, coffee, and refreshments. The judges are retired to render a decision, which I'm sure will be extremely difficult. Those in the audience are free to take pictures or do what they have to before we present the awards in about 15 minutes. Once again, we'd like to thank you and enjoy the refreshments, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Senator Honorable Nancy Lorraine Hoffman from the 48th Senatorial District could not be with us tonight. Her assistant, Janet Gardner, sent her greetings from Senator Hoffman to us, and it says, a certificate of merit presented to each of the following candidates in recognition of your outstanding achievement, Senator Nancy Lorraine Hoffman, New York State Senate, 48th District. She sends her greetings and best wishes. Unfortunately, because of prior commitments, the senator, with her busy schedule, cannot be with us tonight, but she is with us in her heart and her thoughts tonight. So, on behalf of myself and Mr. Delgatrada, Mrs. Gardner, thank you very much, and thank the senator for her kind words. Okay, we're going to present each certificate to each individual tonight. They can come up and receive their certificate from Mr. Delgatrada. Tricia Fischetti. Dixie Wishart. Mrs. Sturban. Andrea Militello. Tim Shermack. Jana Spence. Anna Kristen Gainey. Brooke Schaefer. Keith Reeves. Megan Smith. Adam Price. Elise Wagner. Brian Mead. Becky Weir. Justin Beckwith. Stacy Bruno. And Suzanne Stevens. Now, before we once again present the top 5, we'd like to present each of the contestants with an invitational certificate. It says Denti School Invitational Certificate, suitable for framing. Very nicely done there. A little plug for the printer. I feel like let's make a deal. Tricia Fischetti. Dixie Wishart. Mrs. Sturban. Andrea Militello. Tim Shermack. Jana Spence. Anna Kristen Gainey. Brooke Schaefer. Keith Reeves. Megan Smith. Adam Price. I'm going to get this one right. Elise Wagner. 1 for 4. Brian Mead. Becky Weir. Justin Beckwith. Stacy Bruno. And Suzanne Stevens. Have a nice round of applause for these. Okay. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Sorry to keep you. We're going to start with place 5, then go to 4, 3, 2, 1. 5th place is a plaque, a Denti cup, and a check or money for $10. 5th place, Tricia Fischetti. Fourth place, cup, $15 check or cash, I believe. Stacy Bruno, Save Our Animals. Third place will be a $50 savings bond. Unfortunately, the bond isn't here. We have to get the Social Security number and the information from the parents, which we will. Congratulations. Third place goes to Tim Shermack, Steps to World Peace. Second place, $100 savings bond, Megan Smith, The Importance of Encouragement. And it's my pleasure to introduce the first place winner for the third annual Denti Invitational Tournament, a $250 savings bond and all the rights of bragging of saying, I'm number one. This year's 1991 winner. Keith Freeze, Animal Rights. As stated before, there are no losers tonight. You're looking at 17 fine young men and ladies who did an outstanding job. Mr. Delacotrata is now passing out a check for $5 or cash, I believe, courtesy of the Denti PTO, that they could spend where they want. Each of them will also get a Denti cup to take home as a little remembrance of their night there at Denti School. In closing, the only thing I can say is I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We appreciate your driving during this miserable weather. It seems every time we have a contest going on, whether it's creative writing or spelling or speech, the weatherman isn't behind us, and I guess he was not behind us tonight. Big thanks to the principals and teachers of these 6 school districts that were represented tonight, and for the people who work with these boys and girls for a very, very fine effort. I want to thank each and every one of you for your patience and time and consideration, and a special thanks to Mrs. Gardner and Senator Nancy Lorraine Hoffman for their kind words of encouragement through their certificates. And we'll conclude by having Mr. Delacotrata say a concluding few words to you. But once again, thank you.
Really appreciate everybody coming, and very impressed by our speakers tonight. We didn't announce where the boys and girls were from, so that it would be a little easier for the judges to discriminate. These 2 winners, the 1 and 2, I think are from North Syracuse. And Stacy, you're from McAllister and Cheryl. 4th place was, who's in 4th place?
Tim.
5th. Where's Tim? North Syracuse. And also from Denti School, Tricia Fischetti. We did have one more judge this evening, Susan Nackley from the television station WTR, but she had a car accident on the way down here. And I guess she's okay. She bumped her head, but she really says her regrets and would have been here had she been able to come. I'd like again to thank the judges. You did a great job. I really appreciate you donating your time. And thank you very much for coming.